तरीके का प्रोग्राम जो लेके आते हैं।
Before I welcome all the guests, Dilip bhai, you started this Civil Services Day on a very positive note with the song "Mera Jab Bhi Koi Ladki Dekhu Mera Dil Deewana Bole," Ole Ole. It has been modified to, Bhole Bhole nowadays.
बोले बोले हाँ, जब भी कोई मंदिर देखो मेरा दिल दीवाना बोले, जय श्री भोले भोले मेरे भोले भोले।
Okay, Dilip bhai, let us start this show today, National Civil Services Day, because we are lucky to have you. And Anup Tilota is going to join us very soon. Let me request you to start with that shloka of Hanuman Chalisa, जो आपने बनाया था अनुप तिलोटा जी के साथ में.
वो मैं आपको बताना, हनुमान तांडव है वो, जो अभी तक विश्व में बहुत कम लोगों ने सुना होगा कि वो इस तरीके से है। हनुमान जी जब पाताल लोग गए थे ही रावण के यहाँ और उसका वध किया था, उसके बाद का है कि हनुमंत की लपेट दे लंगूर की जपेट दे दुष्ट को दपेट से रपेट चाकलन बजे न के चारा से तो हो तक टक गिरे सैन पट पटी पटी मार कभी को किल लकार किले जो जिल लकार पड़ी भीड़ बिल लकार कटे रख तनिदान कहे तेज को कुमार करी को बेसुमार वीर लखन कुमार झुकी जारी की रवान प्यारो सीताराम को उजारो रघुवंश को अनियारो जन पे जे महाकुल रन को रघुकुल मंडल प्रचंड बरी दंड मुन नरन उमन तो करन है कल को। और एक मेरा शिव भजन है, ऐसी सुबह न आए न ऐसी शाम, जब तक जुबां पे मेरे आए ना शिव का नाम।
Thank you, Dilip bhai, thank you so much. आपने, you've been able to start this program on a very, very positive note. The guests on board National Civil Services Day 2026, 16,000 plus officers on the field. Many more who are post-retirement serving the nation. Stuti Kakkarji, Prakash Singh, two doyens, two pioneers, from the civil services fraternity. IPS 1959 batch, father of police reform, Supreme Court directives 2006 after a 10-year-long battle, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, former DGP Assam, former DGP BSF, former DG, and he's been somebody who's responsible for many state governments to, transform the way they look at the police department in their states. We've been supported by Bank of India to some extent, and they've been joined by their representatives over here. Alexander Thomas is on board, the doctor representing 14,000 hospitals of the nation.
Oh.
14,000 hospitals. Dr. Shri Vimal Waklu, former CMD TCIL, Bank of India, Puspita Anjali, I think Mukesh ji, Dilip Sen, Professor N.K. Goyal. He is the chairman of Cyber Security Association of India, and Stuti Kakkarji, she is the former Secretary Government of India. She started the Department of Disabilities, as far as I remember. We've got many other guests who will keep coming in one by one. Opening notes, National Civil Services Day. Professor A.G. Iyer, over to you.
Namaskar to all. And as I'm seeing, in the renewable energy sector and also the infrastructure sector, key sectors of the economy. So I want to put a word for the civil service.
Just a second. Cameras on for everyone. If you have problems to put your cameras on, please leave the show.
I can start? Yeah. So basically, today is a very important day, not only for our civil services, for also the nation, because whether we like it or not, the nation predominantly runs because of an efficient civil service. Politicians can, guide the nation. They look like the people who run it, but actually, the Indian nation is completely dependent on what our bureaucracy does in the best times and the worst times. I can tell you that the last few days I have a lot of friends from the IAS fraternity, from the IRS fraternity, because the civil service is also divided into various fraternities: Indian Revenue Service, Indian, I would say, administrative services, Indian police services. Also, there is also the Indian, rail service. There is an Indian Rail Personal Services officers who served in my renewable energy sector. So it's a very wide ambit. Indian engineering services. So these services are there together as one common platform, and not to forget the Indian Foreign Service and as well as the Indian Forest Service. So today, the Services Day makes us remember all of these fraternities, all of these different dimensions of the civil service. And we have entered an era where I think, the civil services will have to metamorphose into a larger action plan for making India's infrastructure, making India's energy, making India's other areas actually very, very powerful. I'll give you one example of recent situation. See, when it started, I tell you, the crisis was so bad that while a lot of denials were there, but I can tell you I'm living in Thane district, we had a crisis for at least 2 days for fuel supply when Iran and America, this Israel thing started, right? Almost like a war, and it's still going on, right? So that time, the initial phases when we derailed ourselves, literally, for whatever reasons, because that was very unprecedented, and mostly people are not ready for this. People suddenly realize that we may be in crisis or we may be in the supply crisis, and we all know. I don't want to detail it, but I must thank the civil services of India who were taking care of the country at the time, and also the public sector enterprises. These two together stemmed the rot or stemmed any kind of fall in spite of the challenge remaining for us, even now for supply of gas, crude fuel, that it was again proved beyond doubt that these services of India are highly valuable. And there are excellent officers inside who have steered the country.
Thank you, Ayar Sahab, opening notes. Ayar Sahab, opening notes hai ye. Bahut sare speakers hai. I'll have to quickly draw the attention of all the entire audience that Indian forest officers, they are now the torchbearers of the ecological balance, which is probably a danger lurking globally. And energy, ecological balance, these are all inextricably linked. Indian Forest Services officers, IFOS, are integrally a part of the All India Services Act 1951. Yes, the Indian Foreign Services takes care of the entire foreign diplomatic relations and vis-a-vis the global platform. But the IAS, IPS, IFOS, IRS, we should not forget, they're the largest number in the field. Almost 10,000 plus IRS officers. We have experts, Dr. Prakash Singh, father of police reforms, 1959 batch IAS officer, somebody who has made all these states realize the relevance of how to go about policing and not mixing police with politics. The man who was responsible for the Supreme Court directives in the year 2006 after a 10-year-long battle, his son Pankaj Singh was also Deputy NSA and DGBSF. He himself was DGBSF, DG Uttar Pradesh, DG Assam. Uncle Prakash Singh, over to you. National Services, Civil Services Day. Congratulations. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Goenka, for giving me this opportunity. We have assembled here today to celebrate the National Civil Services Day. Now, civil services, let us remember, they were constituted to ensure that, it was Sardar Patel's vision that these forces, these services will contribute to the unity of India, the All India services, and they have contributed to the unity of India. I would say that several countries have fractured, the federations collapsed, but in India, despite all the gloomy predictions made at one stage, India stands united in spite of separatist and vociferous and secessionist tendencies in different parts of the country. And if it is united today, civil services have made a stellar contribution. But unfortunately, they are in very bad shape today. And I think if the defects and the shortcomings and the faults which have crept into the civil services at different levels, if those are not addressed, I'm afraid the civil services, their contribution will now be on a declining curve. Firstly, recruitment. You see, recruitment earlier only 3 attempts were given. Over a period of 4 years, you could take 3 attempts and that was all. Now, these days, one hears that somebody has appeared till the age of 30. Making people, giving people the facility to appear up to the age of 30 or even 30 plus. I think that is making a mockery, and people are taking 4 attempts, 5 attempts, 7 attempts, and I have seen interviews of people who have qualified after the 5th attempt. Now, I think if either you qualify in 3 attempts or you should be just out and you should seek some other avenue, because there's so much of national wastage in the process. that people are doing nothing except preparing for exams year after year over a period of 6, 7 years. So recruitment process needs to be re-looked into. Secondly, in the matter of a cadre allotment, that has also been considerably diluted. I remember in our time, 50% officers were always allotted from outside the state and 50% belonged to the state. But there has been considerable dilution in the process, and the officers themselves have diluted it also by using matrimony as an instrument to get cadre changes. And recently there was a case of one IAS officer marrying three different IAS lady officers, divorced one after another for different reasons, but I suppose cadre allotment was a strong factor in that. Then service conditions have become so very difficult. I mean, uh, without going into details, I would like to emphasize two things. See, these services need insulation from outside pressure. That insulation is not there. The Shah Commission, if you recall, they said that if a tragedy of this kind is to be averted in future, the services must be insulated from outside pressures. That insulation is now gone, and the services have been tremendously politicized. Then, secondly, they don't have operational autonomy. I mean, the government can lay down the policies, they can lay down the framework, but within that framework, the services, whether it is IAS or IPS or Forest Service or any other service which may be created, they should have full operational autonomy to function within that. That is also gone. There's too much of interference, and you have politicians breathing down your neck. I mean, trying to dictate whose name should be included in the FIR, how the investigation should be conducted, who should be charge sheeted. At every stage, there is interference in the functioning of the police. So the insulation is not there, operational autonomy is not there, and we see the services have been greatly politicized. And then what is the spectacle before us? I mean, you take the example of West Bengal. I'm told about 1,000 officers of the police, of the bureaucracy and the police have been transferred across the state. Now, I'm not saying that these transfers were not called for. Maybe they were called for, maybe they were not. But the point is, why do you have to transfer officers on such a large scale? Because you say they are politicized, they are supporting the TMC. But then why not take steps to depoliticize the services? That is more important. Today, TMC is at the receiving end from the election commission. Tomorrow it could be BJP. I mean, any party could be at the receiving end if you politicize the services. In UP, the services were politicized during the regime of Mulayam Singh and Akhilesh Yadav and Mayawati. They systematically politicized, and the process continues. So the services are losing their character, and people are losing their faith in the services. Earlier, I remember when I joined service, if an inquiry was entrusted to the lowest IPS officer, the assistant superintendent of police, who has just joined service. I mean, in the district, there used to be this kind of atmosphere that अब तो दूध का दूध हो जाएगा, पानी का पानी हो जाएगा, कोई ASP साहब आ रहे हैं इसकी जांच करने. I mean, that was the kind of environment we worked under at the very start of our service. Today, if you entrust the inquiry even to a secretary or an inspector general, people are not confident that the inquiry would be impartial. So, I mean, this is a very sad reflection of the state of the services. The services have played a stereo role. They have delivered. They have lived up to the expectations of Sardar Patel, but they are in very bad shape, and the problem, and there are systemic problems in the functioning. These problems need to be addressed at the level of recruitment, at the level of cadre allotment, at the level of service conditions. And if the problems are not attended to, I'm afraid we are heading for bad days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prakash Singh. Uncle, there are a couple of observations. One is, despite all this, recently the Parliament passed the act for the CAPF, issues, wherein the top-ranked positions, IG and above, would be going to the IPS officers instead of the internal promotees from these 7 CAPF services. Your views on that?
No, my views is CAPF have certain ambitions. They say that we should be treated as Group A service, organized Group A service, which is what the Supreme Court is reported to have endorsed. But the CAPF Act makes no mention of that there would be an organized Group A service. And the primacy of the Indian police services at the higher levels, at the level of Inspector General, at the level of Additional DG, and at the level of DG will continue. Now, that's okay. I mean, that is how the government thinks, and I think the government thinking is on the right line. But at the same time, I think the CAPF, looking at the kind of discontentment within the CAPF, the younger officers who think that their promotions are that they don't get adequate opportunities for promotion. I think that is something that needs to be looked into. And my recommendation, my one recommendation would be that just as the state police services, after some years of service, they are considered eligible for promotion, elevation to the Indian police service. Similarly, the CAPF officers should also be given this opportunity that after so many years of service, you are eligible to be inducted into the Indian police service. Maybe with this proviso that they will serve only in the CAPF, or maybe government could give them the option of joining state armed police forces also. So, I mean, I think they are a frustrated lot today, and I think we need to address their frustration also. गवर्नमेंट ने जो किया अच्छा किया, ठीक है, सही किया है, पर उनकी जो निराशा है उसको भी दूर करना बहुत आवश्यक है.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Prakash Singh. I'll quickly take over to make it a little lighter, because when we started the show with Dilip Senji, the Hanuman Tandav and all that. Dilip Senji, recently the government has started an endeavor under the Prime Minister's guidance to club the bureaucracy with cultural kind of affiliations, to bring them on board with the cultural heritage, the virasat, desh ki jo virasat hai, uske saath, and they started workshops around it. You had a period of time in the 80s and 90s when you trained a lot of bureaucrats. उसके विषय में कुछ बताएंगे?
देखिए, मैं आपको एक बात बताना चाहता हूं कि हमने हर समय पे हर चीज देखी, और मुझे ये बताते हुए है कि जो सिविल सर्विस हमारे लिए रही है वो हमारे देश के लिए सबसे अच्छी रही, मगर कभी कभी जो विडंबना हमको देखने को मिलती है, मगर उसमें तकलीफ होती है। मगर मोदी साहब के आने के बाद में बहुत सी चीजों में तब्दीली आई है और उसमें काफी फर्क पड़ा है, और मुझे उम्मीद है कि आगे भी बहुत फर्क पड़ेगा। और मेरे लायक यानी एज ए संगीतकार के नाते जो भी अगर इसमें कोई काम योगदान होता है तो हम उसके लिए तात्पर्य हमेशा रहेंगे, सदैव रहेंगे आप लोगों के लिए। और हमें इनका सेवा, इनकी भावनाएं हमको किसी के नहीं भूलना चाहिए, और हम लोगों को तात्पर्य जैसे वो हमारे लिए खड़े रहते हैं तो हमें भी उनके लिए समय समय पर खड़े रहना चाहिए। बस मैं इतना ही कहना चाहूंगा, और मैं इस वक्त इजाजत लेना चाहता हूं आपसे।
ठीक है दिलीप भाई, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस, and we keep listening to people and songs from you. Now we quickly bring in Stuti Kakkarji. Madam was secretary disabilities, and she was also chairperson of the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. A seasoned bureaucrat, 40 years in the IAS services. She is somebody who knows how the bureaucracy functions by the back of her hand. Ma'am incentivized day before yesterday, Professor Raghunath Mashalkar, Padma Vibhushan, had a show with me separately on the role of bureaucrats. He talked to me about how in the late 90s and early 2000, they started the PM Award for recognizing administrative excellence and to incentivize the performance of bureaucrats. Your views on incentivizing the performance of bureaucrats. Today, Vigyan Bhavan, today itself, the Prime Minister is going to award out of 2,000 entries, a few bureaucrats in the areas of priority areas, area of the affected districts, blocks, then also in the area of innovation. Now, what are your views on incentivizing the performance of bureaucrats? Because as far as my knowledge goes, they are not supposed to accept, or they are not supposed to be bestowed with civilian awards.
Amit, I have my own views on the subject, and I would like to go back to Prakash Singh Sahab and what he has said, that we have to address the system which is becoming fundamentally flawed. You see, I joined, sir is much senior, but when I joined in 1978 batch, and when I joined the service, we were young, idealistic. Now I find people who are coming into the service, they are not driven by idealism. They are driven by all kinds of things. You incentivize one person, what difference is it going to make? Awards, as you know, are awards which are given for a lot of things. So I think, first of all, I must congratulate you for holding this webinar where we can seriously think about what's going wrong with the system. And Prakash Singh Sahab has given a huge lead and his ideas. I also always think that on 21st April, we must introspect what has gone wrong. Why is it that we select the best people? Even, sir, at the age of 30, they have made it across many barriers. And why are they not performing? What has gone wrong with the environment that is not bringing the best out of the youngsters who have joined the bureaucracy? And why are our youngsters scared to innovate, to become user-friendly? You see, once you come out of the bureaucracy, you are a retired person. I have this group and they all cribbing all the time. Ye nahi ho raha hai, wo nahi ho raha. But then you get a period of 30, 40 years to do something. Why didn't you think of it when you're on the other side of the fence? So we need to, think of other people in the line and how to, get the best out of our juniors. Seniors are far and in between who support their juniors. There used to be a time in 1978 when I was there. The cadre was a very different cadre. I was also in the UP cadre, and my cadre used to encourage young officers. They had a lot of faith in the young officers, especially the direct officers, in the integrity and the wisdom, as Prakash Singh Sahab said. And, even if he made mistakes, they were forgiven. As long as you had no self-interest involved in any of your jobs, you were encouraged to be innovative, to take risks, to move forward, to do good things. I remember the kind of actions I took when I was a young DM in Gazipur. Today, maybe I would be too scared to take the same steps, because I know I will get no support. Anyway, what I would like to say through this webinar is that we have to inculcate confidence in our youngsters. Tell them that you're working for a country. You have to have faith in yourself, and you have to do your best wherever you are. I have worked in social sectors out of choice. And I know that even for a disabled person, if you encourage a person with disability, that person will achieve hugely. But if you keep on telling somebody कि तुम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, तुम बेकार हो, तुम निकृष्ट हो, तुम बैठ जाओ, that person will never be able to do. So first thing first is this browbeating of bureaucracy has to stop. You have to encourage people. Tell them we are there to help you. The environment is there to help you. And make them conscious of the fact that you're working for a country. It is your own country. कोई आकर के सुधार नहीं करेगा. Nobody is interested in whoever came to, and UP is borne the brunt of all the invasions and all. जो आया लूट करके चला गया, जिसने जो चाहा experiment करके चला गया. Nobody is bothered about the common people. I feel so bad when I go back and I see that things have not improved. जो 30-35 साल पहले जो लोग जिस दशा में थे, उसी दशा में अब भी रह रहे हैं. Despite all the effort that was put in by the entire ये point program था, ये था, वो था, everything, but the lives of common people have not improved. So we must make people, especially in North India, especially in my state, understand that if UP makes a difference, India makes a difference. And if India makes a difference, the world makes a difference. Thank you so much. I seem to be getting all very emotional about it, but I do feel strongly because the best part of my youth was put into the social sectors, and I feel at the end of the day, what do we have to show?
This is the season of elections because India, generally used to be known as a land of festivals, but now elections are probably as important as festivals, and they keep happening around the year. Dr. Singh, Dr. Prakash Singh, and Madam Stuti Kakkarji, question is posed to both of you. Anybody could take turns to answer the question. In the season of elections, what we see in the state level, the state election officers are generally people from the state cadres, people who retired as IS officers, who are appointed as SEOs, state election officers. Prakash ji hinted on that. There is a lot of, kind of politicization. Browbeating was talked about by Stuti Kakkarji. So how do you think the elections can be fair and just and participative, when the same IS officer who has worked with the state government in power probably for the last 15 years, 20 years, 10 years, can be or somebody who can be entrusted with the job of a fair, participative, and justified election at a state level?
So would you like to answer this question, please? You have more experience.
नहीं, अब बोलिए, मैं उसके बाद कुछ कह दूंगा.
सर, मैं तो कह रही हूँ कि इतने साल से इलेक्शंस हो रहे हैं इंडिया में, कभी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई थी. सडनली देयर इज अ बिग प्रॉब्लम. ऑफिसर्स आर दिस, ऑफिसर्स आर दैट. वही तुम कहते हैं कि ब्राउबीट करने से फायदा क्या? इफ यू टेल अ पर्सन, हनुमान जी से भी कहा गया था अपनी शक्ति पहचानो. तो इफ यू टेल अ पर्सन कि दिस इज व्हाट यू आर सपोज्ड टू डू एंड पीपल डू द राइट थिंग. सॉरी अमित, इट इज, दीज आर ऑल परसेप्शंस. No bureaucrat is this way or that way. जो होते हैं वो बहुत कम होते हैं, far and in between होते हैं.
I support what Mrs. Kakkar has said just now. You see, there is no need to import officers from outside. There are good officers. There are plenty of good officers available within the state, and appointing from amongst them a state election officer, or it should not be a problem. And the point is, we need to encourage the good officers to conduct themselves in a fair and impartial manner. There are good officers, but unfortunately, even the good officers get browbeaten, even they get insulted, even they get humiliated. That is what creates problems. So, I mean, if you adopt this ethos of encouragement, ethos of innovation, breaking new ground, and looking upon the services as an instrument. I always thought that police was a very powerful instrument of social service, and that is what motivated me throughout. So, I mean, if such officers are encouraged, but even I had to face a humiliation at different stages in my life. That is the problem, and it is for the government to ensure the neutrality of the officers. Officers will be neutral, they would be impartial, they would be fair if they find that being fair and impartial does not harm your future career progression. But that is what happens if you have a political stump, and if that party is in power, then your career progression is ensured, and people look for short-term benefits. These things should go. So the politicization should go, daily interference should go. There should be a fair measure of operational autonomy. Once that is there, you will see a lot many good officers coming forward.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Uncle Prakash Singh. We've got Vimal Vakluji, the former CM TCI. He'll bring in the public sector perspective. We've got officers from the Bank of India. These officers will probably be able to tell us about the challenges they face with the bank, because Bank of India, for example, was one for the merger, and the top that bank, Karnataka is there as a chairman and CEO there. These are the people for driving the sector forward. We've got Professor N.K. Professor N.K. is somebody who by the back of his head. 50 years. He's run associations with thousands of members. Currently, he heads Cyber Association of India. He heads the Telecom Association of India. We've got Dr. Thomas, 14,000 under ASPI. Dr. Thomas, your experience with bureaucracy from the healthcare perspective, one of the crucial most areas, and some good practices you've seen over the last 40 years by the bureaucrats, which have been landmark case studies from the healthcare perspective. Dr. Alexander Thomas.
Yes, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So once again, thank you, Amit. I think you bring across amazing people who are icons to us, and I'm very privileged to be part of it and also to listen to the wisdom of both Madam and Prakash sir. And also yesterday I spoke to Dr. Mashirkar. So thank you for that. So I think now talking to about the subject of the role of bureaucracy in nation building. I want to start with a confession. I've heard different perspectives from senior bureaucrats, but from the other side, as a healthcare professional, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. For many years, whenever I heard the word bureaucracy, especially in my younger days, I would instinctively think of three things. One is files, one is delays, and that famous phrase, please come tomorrow. And it was something similar to when I was in Oman and we used to go to for something to the hospital. They'd say, Bukra inshallah, tomorrow, God willing. And when we are in healthcare, that tomorrow sometimes can feel like next year. But over the years, I've had a change of heart. I've had the privilege of working with some very exceptional bureaucrats. But as Madam said, most bureaucrats are not willing to take a risk. But those who are willing to take a risk, they have tremendous potential to make changes. And I discovered something important. If you look at least related to healthcare and a few policy decisions that I've had opportunity to be part of, I work very closely with Devi Shetty of Narayana and Chris Gopalakrishnan in the area of senior citizens. I've discovered that behind every transformation in this country, almost every transformation, there is usually at least one bureaucrat making it quietly happen. Not in the limelight, not in headlines, but in the system. Somebody is there. We'll put it this way that if the politicians are the visionaries and professionals are the implementers, the bureaucrats are the engineers of the bridge between the two. And we know that a bridge is only noticed when it collapses. But when it works, millions cross it every day without even asking. And this, I think, I would say this is how I would put bureaucracy. Huge potential, and many bureaucrats are doing that. But then, as Madam said, over the years, I've noticed that with the present political climate in this, there's some echo. Yeah, it's gone. So less and less bureaucrats are willing to take that risk and take a stand. But the good thing is that it happens. Let me tell you a story from Karnataka. We had in Karnataka, like in the country, we needed more doctors, we needed more PG training centers, and we had many district and taluk hospitals. Their patients were there, but not at all being used for teaching. So in most places, if a proposal came, it would be a committee, a subcommittee, and then another committee. But in Karnataka, we are very fortunate. We have had some excellent health secretaries. And fortunately, they came one after the other. They're all visionary, practical, and quietly bold. I mean, some of the names like Ajay Seth sir and Javed Akhtar, Shiv Salem. So they were all of the same, on the same wavelength. And when we brought it to their notice, they said, why are we not using what we already have? And things started moving along up. This is one of our public-private partnerships that the IIM Bangalore actually has come out with the publication. We got together with the government and with Anbai, that's another organization. Files moved very fast. Permissions became very quickly possible, and partnerships were encouraged. And today, I'm happy to tell you, and this is a case study. 32 hospitals in Karnataka, taluk and district hospitals have become training centers. More importantly, all the students who pass out from there have a bond with the government, and Karnataka, which had one of the highest vacancies in specialist training, now well on the way to filling up all the training centers. Now, also want to tell you the special type of bureaucrats which I've had the privilege of working. You walk into the office a little nervous with a big idea, but instead of saying this is not possible, they say how they can make it possible. And I especially want to bring one of my former bureaucrats who worked in Karnataka, who's now the chairman of IRDA. He was Mr. Ajay Seth. We were having difficulty with the government. They wanted to bring in a very stringent Clinical Establishment Act. They wanted to jail doctors for very small issues. And I think it was an election year, and the politicians were very intent on getting it through. Mr. Ajay Seth came in, he went through it, he had discussions with us, and he made a complete change. So
people like him, they don't just read files, they actually read the intent, they don't block ideas, they shape them. And I think one of the reasons that we have a good public policy, healthcare policy in Karnataka is because of them, and I must commend them for their nation building. So the other problem that we have noticed with bureaucrats, and that has happened recently, when one secretary goes, we usually have to start from zero. New file, new note, new discussions, and that becomes a little difficult. But as I said earlier, in Karnataka, we had a series of excellent health secretaries, and we were able to actually continue what we were doing, align, and then also trust. And each one didn't say, this is not my project. They all said, it's a good idea, and let's take it forward. And that's how the system changed. So another example is, these are not bureaucrats, but leaders in government, the National Board of Exam Stories, which is led by an exceptional person called Dr. Abhijat Seth. We worked together. We were able to do many things in Karnataka. We were able to do many things across the country. And the National Board of Exams is now considered.
Namaskar, pranam.
Hello. The National Board is considered a model in the country. And fortunately for us, the NMC is now being headed by the same Dr. Abhijat Seth. Again, we lobbied for it, and we hope that the NMC, which has been a disappointment, now will change, and so also the healthcare delivery, the healthcare training will also change. So after all these years, I've come to a simple conclusion, and this is from the other side. I mean, I'm an ordinary orthopedic surgeon working most of my life in mission hospitals. A good bureaucrat is not defined by position, but by three things. I think the clarity of purpose, they understand why something matters. They have the courage to act, and again, they take a risk. They're not paralyzed. What if something goes wrong? And again, I'm reiterating what Madam said. And importantly, the commitment to the people. See, this project in Karnataka has benefited millions of people. They don't have to come to Bangalore or to the district headquarters when they need specialist help. It is at their doorstep. So on a reflective note, I think a good bureaucracy reflects a deeper principle. Service without recognition. I was glad to hear that today the Prime Minister is recognizing bureaucrats, but usually it is service without recognition. There's no applause, no headlines, but there's a huge, huge impact, almost like a quiet ministry. And I think some of the finest acts of nation building in India are happening in offices without microphones, in bureaucrats' offices all over the country. So the shift we need, instead of saying bureaucracy is the problem, I say we must say good bureaucracy is the solution, and the government, I think, should take note of this, that they need to encourage bureaucrats who actually make a difference. Because when bureaucracy works well, innovation scales, partnerships flourish, and systems become sustainable. And I've seen it firsthand in many, many areas, especially in Karnataka and also at the national level. So let me end with a very simple image. Imagine three people building a hospital. One is saying, I'm laying bricks. I'm saying hospital because I'm a medical person. The second says, I'm building a wall. The third says, I'm saving lives. The work is the same, but the mindset is different. So good bureaucrats are those who look at a file and say, I'm not moving a paper, I'm shaping the future of the country. So the next time we think of nation builders, we need to remember that not all heroes wear uniforms, some carry files, like our bureaucrats. And when these files move with purpose, nations move forward. Thank you, and it's a privilege to be on a webinar with all of you. Thank you, Amit.
Dr. Thomas, stay with us for 10 more minutes. I'll quickly bring in Vimal Vaklu Sahab. Vimal Vaklu Sahab is there with us. He's the former CMD of TCIL, a public sector Miniratna company. Now, Vaklu Sahab, you had very close interaction with industries. Not only the positives, but also take us through some areas of betterment and challenges that you faced as a chairman of a top sector company.
Thank you, Amit. Actually, just now Dr. Ibrahim mentioned about the motto of any bureaucracy should be shaping the future of the country, nothing else. I mean, that should be at the back of their mind. Now, the biggest challenge that I feel with the bureaucracy till now is that still the old manuals of the British era, when We were supposed to be treated, the public was supposed to be treated as slaves, and it was administering the people. That manual, those manuals have not changed. That's what is really shocking. There needs to be a major transformation, and instead of looking at those manuals, we should look at Chanakya and other people for inspiration. I feel that's very much needed. And there are many bureaucrats who have defied this. I'm really proud of them. I mean, I remember I was posted to Rajkot, and after at the weekend, I was told, let's visit, Aji Dam. When I went to Aji Dam, I mean, that was a place where the water supply was coming from almost 36, 38 kilometers away, because Rajkot always had a challenge of water supply. I'm talking about almost 40 years back. So what happened there, at that dam, there were a lot of people because it was a Sunday, and there was a whisper among people that this all has become possible because of one person, and that is Jagdishan. He was a bureaucrat who worked on this till then. People say since independence we were trying hard, but this man, despite political challenges, he managed to bring water to us, and for us, he's God. He's as good as the person who got Ganga. So, and instantly I could hear people say, Jagdishan ki jai. So this is a bureaucrat who really did something on the ground despite challenges. He did not wait for and look at the manual. Second, almost everybody knows Mr. Nipun Mishra. Of course, he of late has been involved with the reconstruction of the Ram temple. But earlier he was our secretary, telecom. As general manager of mobile services in the country, we're just going to start almost 25 years back, 26 years back. The major challenge was that you have to take clearance for the sites. And for these sites, a major hurdle was also the defense forces, because most of the time, I want to mention, there were 56 sets of documents you have to prepare for each site, you can imagine. And for each document used to be maybe 200 pages, because you had to give all details. And you used to send to all the organizations, 56 of them. And when there would be a meeting in Delhi, many people would say, we haven't got it, despite having been sent by registered post or whatever it is. So then they'll say, okay, then we'll discuss next time. So in one of the meetings, I remember in 2002, it was chaired by Mr. Mishra. And when it came to discussing these sites pertaining to Maharashtra, Goa, etc., and I gave a presentation that what the challenges are. So everybody said, this received, not received, next time we'll see, and all that. Then I raised my hand, and Mr. Mishra said, yes, what's the problem? I said, you please tell me, in this era, when already there is a website of the government also on this, and if I put everything on the website, why can't the 56 people see it? And why can't we fix a timeline that if within 1 month they don't clear it, it'll be deemed clear? He said, okay, you sit down. So I thought it's all gone. I was very upset, and I'm known for speaking, bitter things to everybody. That's a bit of a problem with me. So when this happened, everybody said, no, how can it be done? The defense people said, no, that's against the interests of the country. And there were a lot of things that happened. And so I thought it's all gone. And I thought, okay, we have to wait for another month unnecessarily. But what happened towards the end of this particular session, Mr. Mishra said to his wireless advisor, said, Mr. Garg, you please tell me when are you going to implement the program which the gentleman has said. So that man was shocked because the wireless advisor at that particular point had not thought that he'll be countered like this. He said, I want this implemented next month. And I say with great pride that it was actually implemented. And everybody was, after that, saved of all the challenges that we used to face earlier. This is what a bureaucrat needs to do. Yes, and he said, if this is not done, then there was a term which I don't want to use now, but he said that you'll see that it'll be the end of something. Anyway, so that is how things get changed. That is how things move. Now, coming to, there was talk about elections and interference by changing bureaucrats and all that. I want to mention something here.
Probably in the next part of your discussion, you could throw some light about the kind of betterment as well as the betterment opportunities, areas and gaps. Probably half an hour. Let me quickly, Bank of India, lot of kind of unshackling of the common comfort zones. But the banking industry has been through a lot of ups and downs. Anybody from India would like to talk to Pushpita or anybody? Because Rajesh Karnataka has really taken this bank to the great heights. And despite all the talk, the education, the labor code, the 5-hour Bank of India, one of the champions of service. So from that perspective, anybody from Bank of India? Anybody would like to? Okay, Dr. Professor N.K. go ahead. Is there with us? Goel sir, left.
I think he's left.
Sir, you may with whatever you about the election.
Okay, no, it's like this, that when I basically belong to Kashmir, and till I was there, I have not been able to vote in a single election. I was told from a distance by some goons every time that your vote has already been cast. Now, generally, most of them, when they work with the local state administration, the state administration works with the politicians, they become, one with them, following the same sort of. It just fell on deaf ears. Nobody cared. I said, I was stopped like this. Why can't something be done? Why is there no police protection? And police also turns its head the other way when you complain to the police by nobody's allowing me to go to the voting booth. And this has been happening in Bengal also. Where are those bureaucrats of local Bengal who sort of, in the previous elections also, there was so much violence? What were they doing when the cadres of a particular party were doing all sort of things which I don't want to repeat? They were. What is the alternative? You bring people from neutral people from outside. That's the only way out. And this should not, in any case, demoralize anybody. Either you be completely neutral, which becomes a challenge. In fact, some places people try to please the politicians. That's a big challenge. Like there's a famous case about a politician whose buffalo got lost in UP, and the whole police force, instead of defending people, was looking for the buffalo. What is nonsense is this? Is this the way the bureaucracy should work? No. So we cannot blame politicians only. Because, I have seen Gujarat before Mr. Modi. with all bureaucrats in place who were all the time, you go to them, very nice, everything happening, but finally nothing happening on the ground. How did the transformation happen? A lot of areas were, dry patches with all the cattle dying, and there were all these, sort of gaushalas who were taking care of the cattle. There was nothing to feed them. There was no water. So how did all this transformation happen when the bureaucrats were there, and the same bureaucrats made a change later on because they were caught by the collar? So this also is something which we should keep in mind. So we basically need to change the manuals. We need to have a fresh training which is based on Indian ethos rather than what Britishers have taught us. That is how you get a Jagdishan. That is how you get Nripan Mishra. There are many such people. I'm really proud of those people, including police officers like Kiran Bedi and other people who have really got us a good thing.
Okay, Vakulu sir. Madam Stuti Kakkarji, you were also chairperson of the NCPCR. There are a lot of incidents, especially with the social media kind of influence concerning the kids, children and women. As part of the NCPCR, chairperson of the NCPCR. Now, what are your experiences? Because today we see kids jumping from floors, students dying in the institution, IITs, NITs, suicides, galore. What is the bureaucracy doing?
Sorry, Amit, your voice is echoing too much. I didn't catch on. But one thing is my experience in NCPCR says is that we need to look after our children, protect our children, and also the damage that people are doing through child sexual abuse needs to be taken up very strongly, because it is damaging people for a lifetime, and elders have to be more responsible. Adults have to be more responsible. There should not be any forgiveness for this kind of a crime against innocent people. Now, Goel Sahab is here. Why don't we ask Goel Sahab to say a few words?
Goel Sahab, I had invited you, but you had left. Goel Sahab, your experience handling thousands of people, members, vis-a-vis the bureaucracy in fields of education, telecom, and now cybersecurity. Recently, as you told me one day, 30 people were apprehended, or they were apprehended for the crime of selling data from CCTVs across roads of Ghaziabad. Now, what has been your experience with IPS, IRS, and we'll also come to IRS, because everywhere there is an ED raid, everywhere there is a CBI person, everywhere there is a GST raid. So this is all being done by IRS officers. We should not forget the 10,000 plus IRS officers who probably are the backbone like never before, post the GST implementation era.
Sir, thank you very much. First of all, thanks to Amit ji, and thanks to the series of speakers you have. It is very difficult to say something after having heard lots of senior professionals here. But 2-3 things in 1.5 minutes. As an industry association, we respect, we admire each and every bureaucrat, whether IPS, IAS, IRS, or other cadres, or railway cadres. And we realize that if they are doing something or not doing something, but in their mind, they are doing it because they feel it is good, it is better for the country. Secondly, I have heard the stories and examples of bureaucrats behaving or not behaving. I think we, the people of India, should take it as a part of life, because every human being is different than other. Think not for the service cadre, but for a country as a whole, we have forgotten the culture, the ethics, the moral, the Indian things. And that is lacking everywhere, whether students, or teachers, or professors, or bureaucrats, or industries. We have forgotten the basic things of affection, love, family, elders, etc. So these, I think there is a need for this to be calculated across all the sectors. Thank you very much.
Professor Goel and all of you, just closing remarks now of 10 more minutes. I'll go back to Dr. Thomas, since you're there. The suicides happening all over the country in the top institutions, IITs, NITs, NEGS. I mean, for example, law universities. IITs has been topping. I mean, forget about the quota incidents and all that. They've become like kind of dangerous zones. But if I talk about IITs, IIT Kanpur, which has had a spate of secretaries from the Ministry of Science and Technology. Last 2 secretaries have been directors of IIT Kanpur. So how do you think? We've got this NIMHANS in Bangalore, National Institute of Mental Health and Allied Sciences. How can the bureaucracy? There was a Supreme Court committee formed in 2024 or 25, which wanted 60,000 institutions to submit a report on mental hygiene. Only 1,000. After a year, only 1,000 institutions have submitted it. Stuti Kakkarji, Alexander Thomas, your views on this shameful statistics about India.
You want me to go first, or madam?
You're the doctor. The doctor comes first.
Okay, thank you, madam. Yeah, so my solution, my response to this is, it's not only with bureaucrats. See, we are in a phase of technology advancement. We are in a phase of artificial intelligence. So I'm going back again to what we were earlier. So what I suggest, not only for bureaucrats, especially for bureaucrats, is that they start practicing lifestyle as medicine. Now, lifestyle as medicine is something which rests on 4 pillars. I've done a lot of work with this along with CMC Law. So this is relevant to every single person living in India, living in the world. So first is, make sure you sleep at least 6 to 7 hours a day. Number 2, make sure you have an adequate nutrition. And there are, my book, Lifestyle as Medicine, is available as a free download. All of you, please go through it. It talks about nutrition. It talks about sleep. It talks about exercise. So these are not things which you add on. These are all very much part of life. It's been proved. So we spoke about sleep. We spoke about nutrition. We spoke about exercise. The third thing, and I think bureaucrats have a huge opportunity in this, is networking. It is now established that the more you network, especially with family and friends, you live longer, your stress is less. Fifth, and very important, is stress and mental health. I think this is an area that we are working with NIMHANS. We are working with many other institutions in the country. We are actually trying to train doctors and nurses to promote the principle that you shouldn't be stressed. And I'm a religious person also. So, very broadly, I'd say don't worry when you have a problem. Don't worry at all. You pray to your God. And 3 is, you need to be thankful for what positive things have happened. This by itself will reduce a lot of stress. And I know that bureaucrats are under a lot of stress because a lot of influences. But I think if you follow this, and the other mantra that I follow, I've gone to stress in a different level. Bureaucrats are at a much higher level, but we have had problems. So the other thing I always say is, have faith, don't fear, trust in God. So these are the 4 or 5 principles that I give to not only to bureaucrats, to every single citizen in our country and in the globe. Thank you.
Ma'am, your views on this growing menace in the young
population? Actually, Amit, when we are talking about mental health of adults, we are talking too late. We should start with children. The kind of pressures that there are on children, it's amazing. First thing, as I said, families have become very within families. It needs to be, somehow we need to take this message across. Don't load your child with bad mental health in a safe environment. Families, homes should be safe. There should not be this pressure on the children. Then the pressure to perform. बच्चे की तो जान ले लेते हैं parents right from the beginning. ये पढ़ो, ये करो, वो करो. Always the child has to prove themselves for the affection of parents. I mean, just imagine, it is so sad. Why should your coming first or second, deprive you of the affection of a child, of your parents, and that engenders bad mental health. अब ये सब बच्चे जब किसी तरह पढ़ पुढ़ करके कोटा ओटा का सिस्टम माने KOTA, not the other कोटा का सिस्टम ले करके या even the other कोटा का सिस्टम ले करके जब पहुंचते हैं, they are not able to cope. They don't have that kind of emotional resilience to face competition. क्योंकि कुछ बच्चे, not everybody is born equal. Sir, Thomas, sir, God is there. I also studied in a Christian school, and my ultimate thing is going back to God and pray that He leads us, holds our hand. I believe in that. Magar in real life, when a child is facing these problems, does not have that emotional resilience, there is a fear of failure, तो वो करेगा क्या बेचारा? Suicide seems to be the easiest option. And I mean, one thing is, I would say that COVID at least brought this mental health issue out of the closet. Now everybody is talking about bad mental health. Everybody is writing books about how their mother abused them. I mean, there are so many things which are coming out of the closet. But it is something that we need to seriously look at. And we have to start at the beginning. We have to produce wholesome individuals. Children who can go forth into the world, who can take on the challenges of the world, and should not be scared of failure. ये जहां ये fear आता है कि हम पास नहीं होंगे, हमें first division नहीं आएगा, मेरा क्या होगा, and all that, it creates this problem. So I think we need to get into this. And of course, having faith, my mother was a very religious person. We've all been inculcated with this, including I would say the nuns in my school, that God is there to look after you, but sometimes there is a problem.
Okay, final remarks, Vimal Vakluji. Yes, Thomas.
I think Madam made a very valid point about children. So just want to say that during COVID times, I was involved in a committee of the Government Ministry of Education. We were able to actually train teachers, about 40 lakh teachers, through the Darpan portal, the signs and symptoms of mental health, and then we will address it. But Madam has a very, very valid point. And I think as a result of that Darpan portal now, I think it's a little more structured in trying to actually identify children who have mental health problems and catch them early and prevent suicide. Thank you.
I understand because there was an echo. I could not follow properly. But anyways, Vimal Vakluji, as there is a lot of discussion around debate specialization in the top leadership positions. Right? Of late, there has been talk around promoting people from the internal ranks to the top positions of public sector companies, wherein we see a lot of IS officers, even IPS officers, IRS officers, who are given such chairman positions because of their administrative excellence. Your views on that?
Well, I personally feel that for any such position, again, there should be a proper, methodology. Those people who come from the cadres or from the ranks, they also deserve to go to the top. And at the same time, a right perspective, an outsider view also should come to an organization. Both are important. So the best thing is that you have an organization like UPSC. So let them decide, let them choose. If there is an internal candidate with a particular number of years, which can be fixed in advance, and a new entrant, maybe from top bureaucracy. Let the UPSC, which decides on the heads of the public sector enterprises, take a decision on that. It should be open. But what happens is sometimes, there also the politics plays a role. Somebody feels that he's close to the politician, he manages to have a posting, and then that is regularized after some time. That also happens. But I feel there should be a neutral entity like a UPSC which takes care of that. Thank you. And I also wanted to comment on Shrutiji's remarks. I fully agree with her that there should be a complete change in the mindset, because this particular competition philosophy has been brought to us again by the Britishers, who wanted us to sort of fight with one another. There is no need for that, because every individual who comes into this world has a role to play. And like it used to happen in Gurukuls, it can be decided. It can be sort of advised what is the best thing for him to do. Not necessarily everybody has to rush to IPS, ITS, or whatever it is. That should not happen.
Yesterday, it is quite coincidental that we raised this issue. Yesterday, the telecom sector, the Prime Minister has
there's an echo.
guideline stating that ITS officers will no longer be promoted to the top ladders of BSNL, and they need to look at internal talent, start grooming the internal talent. So here we go. There is a push, and apart from that, there is an angle of the private sector which is completely unbridled when you compare that with the public sector in this country, which is under the lens from all quarters, regulatory wise. Private sector bill, which was introduced as a private members bill, in 2024 or something, 2020, it was in fact rejected. It was kept in the docks and by Rama Devi of Bihar. Now that only 12 bills, private bills, have passed in the last 75, 78 years of independence. Now the private sector, there are no regulations for bribery, there are no regulations for tendering, unlike the public sector, which faces all the challenges. They have the regulatory bodies, and the private sector, though it has got SEBI, it only limits itself to BRSR reports and all. NK Goel, final remarks, and then Stuti Kakkarji, close the show with you.
Sir, I think the present generation and the times have built in quite a lot of stress and few things, instant delivery. Younger generation wants instant delivery. 99% marks have no value. Everybody wants everything, and stress has become a part of life of the families and individuals. I usually say stress is nothing but the way you look to a situation or a statement in your mind. So we try to say, behave nicely. Don't think you are the God to do everything fine. You will be having mistakes also in the life. Accept the mistakes. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, you were also Secretary Disabilities. You set up the department. It is a very important section of this country. There is a kind of a horizontal reservation, which is almost 4 to 5% in the central government service and educational institutions, apart from the 60-odd percentage reserved for the SC, ST, and the backward classes. So your views on how you could, probably push the agenda of the Divyangjans into the mainstream of India's growing economy?
I'll again go back to childhood. Amit, I'm firmly convinced unless a child is accepted by the parents, given love, and the rights of the child are secured within the family, there can be no inclusion. जब बच्चा को आप पढ़ने नहीं देंगे या हर समय कहेंगे कि तुम दिव्यांग हो, तुम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, तो बच्चा कुछ नहीं करेगा. So inclusion has to be first within the family. Family has to accept, give the child the same rights as the other children, not be mistreated, not be abused. And when the child then gets an education, because without the parents investing in the child's education, the child will not get educated. It's not the state's responsibility simply because a child is disabled. After that, once it is there, the legal enablement is there, but a lot has to be put into the child by the parents till the child comes of age. And after that, the child is, I would say, confident enough to take his or her place in life. I mean, now you see many successful IAS officers who are disabled. There is that girl in Delhi government, I'm forgetting her name, Ira Singhal. She's so confident, she's so good. I'm so amazed by her performance. She topped the list. So a lot depends on your upbringing, and what kind of deal you got from your own people.
Your views on basically the transfers that the transfer sword that keeps hanging on bureaucrats like Ashok Khemka. There is somebody from Haryana who was transferred probably more, though he was a promotee IAS. What are your views on the sword of transfer which keeps hanging on honest officers?
See, you have to understand, if you are honest and if you're straightforward, people will not be too fond of you. You have to do what, do your best with what's on your plate. If you're dumped in a certain organization, you have to perform, you have to deliver, because these departments have not been created. Government is not, spending money on, disabilities. For me, it was a godsend thing that this department was created and I was able to set it up. But many of my successors treat it as a punishment posting. Now, if your performance is not up to the mark, you keep on wishing कि हमें ये मिल जाए, वो मिल जाए, हमें economic affairs मिल जाएंगे, then I will perform. Then I'm sorry, this never happens. जो मिलता है उसको स्वीकार करना चाहिए और उसमें you have to put in your best. Dr. Thomas is so famous. He does such a good job. Now, if he kept wishing that he was Prime Minister of this country, he won't be either a good doctor, nor would he ever become Prime Minister. Sir, I'm sorry, but all of us have a given role in life.
Lastly, ma'am, your views, and we close the show on this wonderful note. Today is the age of, propaganda, age of show off, age of the, showbiz, marketing, PR. How, what are your asymmetrical views, or probably non-partisan views on bureaucrats? They take up to social media to promote their fashion statements. They promote views on everything to do with, glitz and glamour. Their personal lives are put on the table for public scrutiny. What are your views? Should the bureaucrats probably have some code of ethics which doesn't permit all these kinds of distractions and non-productive kind of activities, because they are the resources on which the future of India lies?
The comment, when we were there till about 2014, when I retired, then social media was just coming in now, and we were told bureaucrats should work and not be seen. We were not supposed to be in the media or the press or to project our work or anything, and good work always speaks. Vakuji has given 2 good examples. But zamana badal gaya hai, and I think there is a certain encouragement to open a, we were told you should have a Facebook page and your organization should project its work. So धीरे धीरे this thing has crept in. जहाँ आप अपने काम को project करेंगे, आप अपने को भी project करेंगे. And a lot of young officers are now hiring media agencies to project them. अब जिसकी जैसी मर्जी, I mean, I don't think there is anything wrong. But if you respect your privacy, don't want people to get into your personal matters, I mean, because bureaucrats have always been under scrutiny. When I was DM, there was
any one or two particular bureaucrats whom you consider your idols?
Yes, some of them are very, very good people. I mean, I've worked with some excellent people. Nitish Sen Gupta was one of them, my chairman in BRPSC, an excellent person. Then Ravi Mathur as DM Kanpur was very good. But even Surinder Arora was a good person, even though he did have his anger management issues, and that is why he had a heart attack. But some of them have been excellent people, excellent to work with.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much. It was a wonderful, kind of discussion in a short span of time.
And I've also worked with very good politicians also. Excellent politicians.
Yeah, we can absolutely understand. Politics is probably one of the cleanest businesses nowadays when we look at the kind of reports coming from the private sector. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody. Dr. Thomas, N.K. Goel, Akluji, Stuti Kakkar, Team Bank of India, all of you, thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. Good. Bye.